include it a little bit and fill myself up at the same time, okay? So just pair it with something a little bit more filling, that's going to help.
I've kind of cut my sugar intake a lot the last 6 months.
Yeah, nice.
And kind of feel, after about a month or so, it was a bit hard.
Yep.
And I love chocolate, but I just eat dark chocolate.
Yep.
And I find that even when I have normal sweet milk chocolate, it's really intense. And it's not satisfying at all.
Yeah.
And you want to eat more.
Yeah.
So now I'm just like, I probably have a bit of cake or something every 2 weeks, and the cravings kind of been cut.
Yeah. It's like those cravings, you have to push through those 2 to 4 weeks. And then you do kind of get to this point where you're like, oh, I actually am not even really craving it anymore. And it's that thing, it's like the more you have something, the more you want it. Yeah. So if you're someone who eats those things every single day, it's probably because you're eating those things every day, you want them every day. And it also kind of becomes a habit. Yeah. So it's like you need to nearly it is going to be hard, that 2 to 4 weeks, but once you push through that, like you said, you're like, oh, I feel pretty good.
Your palate changes as well.
Yeah.
You get used to sugar if you eat a lot.
Yeah, no, it's too, I don't really taste like, ooh, ice cream. I'm like,
Yeah. Sugary. Cool. Another reason why we might be limiting those types of foods as well is not just because they're always deemed bad, okay, but they can increase things like inflammation and stuff like that as well, okay? So if we can go throughout this challenge and experience maybe some lower inflammation and things like that too, your performance in the gym and just your everyday life might be, you might not even realise that your body's inflamed until you experience it not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just get used to it.
Yeah, you do.
Suboptimal.
Yeah.
But you don't realise.
Yeah, you're just functioning at that level. Any questions with this? Let's move on.
I have a question. Sodas, like Coke Zeros?
Yeah, you can include those.
Not every day.
Yeah, when trying not to have them 4 a day or anything.
Yeah.
But honestly, in my true opinion, if you really do crave something sweet or something like that, going for the no sugar option, like a Pepsi Max, is 10 times better than going for the full sugar option, and it helps you stay on track. So it is a good tool, but we just try not to have 5 a day. Yeah.
Is there any truth in sweeteners having an insulin response or anything like that?
Yeah, I don't know about the insulin response and stuff like that. I don't think it's not going to have as much of an impact if you were having the full sugar. But a common question too I get about those is I heard that they're worse for me or they're bad for me.
Is
Yeah.
that an old, that Spartan they used to use?
Yeah.
They don't use that now.
No, but even with artificial sweeteners, you have to have a lot of it to impact you in a negative way. A lot. The sweetness that they get in say a Pepsi Max compared to a normal Pepsi, the amount of sugar they use in a normal Pepsi, to get that amount of sweetness is a quarter of a teaspoon of this. Do you know what I mean? You'd have to drink so much. Yeah.
But the thing is that your body is...
That's what we use for laxatives.
Because it thinks that it gets a lot of sugar in, but it isn't. So the insulin level goes up, so you will see a drop in your blood sugar.
Yeah.
So you can be having... you can feel... what's the word?
Yeah.
To have more cravings after that you've consumed the low sugar.
It's like fooling your body.
Your body's expecting
something. Calories.
Yes.
So then your body's like, where are my calories?
Yeah, so insulin goes up, but you don't actually get sugar in.
It's a moderation thing. Obviously you shouldn't be drinking every day.
Once in a while. No.
Cool.
In the
Do you
airplane
have
back
an
home.
opinion on dinner times and things like that?
Honestly,
we've been having dinner at 9, 10 o'clock sometimes. So.
Yeah, well, again, one thing you'll probably hear me say a lot is nutrition is very individual, right? Yes, if you can get dinner in a bit earlier than 9 p.m, a few hours before bed, it's going to help your digestion. Digestion is going to feel probably better for you. But if you're someone who maybe you don't walk through the door till 8:30 at night, and it's impossible, it really is hard for you to eat dinner earlier, then it's all right, we pick our battles. Okay, maybe I have a smaller dinner, a bit of a bigger lunch or a bigger afternoon snack, and then I eat dinner late, but that's just the way it is. I'm not going to tell you no, you can't do that, and then it stresses you out even more because you're like, well, then I'm just not going to eat. I'd rather you eat a late dinner than not eat at all.
Is it more important to get adequate macros in regardless of the time, if that has an impact on digestion while you're asleep? or to reduce what you have later in the day and increase it at night. Sorry, increase it in the morning. Which is better. Like if you can't increase any of the other meals anymore, but you simply can't eat more,
Your problem.
then which is my problem.
Yeah.
And you just have to have a big dinner.
Yeah.
Then like is the impact of digestion at night that big to worry about, or
Does it impact you?
I don't know.
Well, I would say some people, no. Like you might be like, I go to bed, I sleep beautifully, I don't get an upset stomach,
So it's more like personal feel rather than like.
Honestly, yeah, I would say that.
Yeah.
I would say try not to overthink that.
Yeah.
Yeah. If it feels fine for you, then that's fine. I would say if you want to try, sometimes we think, I can't get any more food into those meals early in the day, but maybe try look at what you're eating. Can you change things up so it's more calorie dense with less volume? Things like that. You're like,
Probably not.
yeah. So, yeah, but honestly, unless you're like, okay, it's impacting my sleep, I'm getting like an upset stomach and I feel like this and I'm waking up consistently, then I'd be like, all right, well, we need to reassess. But yeah, it's very individual. If you're like, no, I eat quite a big dinner and I go to bed half an hour after dinner and I sleep fine, then that's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The only issue I have with sleeping is too much
Dogs.
caffeine. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Which we can control.
Yeah, definitely. Don't want to, but
Yeah.
Decaf for you.
Cool. Okay, so macronutrients. Okay, we're just going to quickly dive into macros briefly. Okay. Has anyone here heard of macros? Yep. Cool. Carbs, fats, proteins. Heard of those? Cool. What are some things you've heard about carbs?
They're delicious.
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 4 calories per gram of carbs, 4 calories per gram of protein, and 9
Yeah, nice. Got some science. Calories contributing. Yep.
I think they get a bad rap, but
Bad rap.
As
Yeah.
you said, Liz. Yeah.
Essential for energy, like the easiest
For your brain.
way to actually access
Yep.
energy, like down to glucose.
Nice. Liking all these. What about protein?
Muscle
Muscle.
building, repair.
Okay.
Muscles.
Muscles. Yes.
I find it hard to get enough protein.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Can be hard to get enough protein in, definitely.
They taste less.
They won't, sorry.
They taste less than the
Yeah, yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Flavor comes from carbs and fats.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about fats? Heard anything about fats?
delicious.
Delicious. Good,
Delicious,
bad.
essential.
Yeah.
It's like
Yes,
important
you
for
need
like
them.
nerves and just general hormones,
Hormones,
as well.
yeah.
But you got good and bad fat.
Yep.
Good and bad fats.
Yep.
Cholesterol.
Yeah.
Cool. I love it. All right. So, you guys pretty much got everything right there with our carbohydrates. Okay, they are the body's preferred fuel source. Okay, our brain uses glucose, carbohydrates for to fuel itself. We have 3 types. We've got our sugars, starches, and fiber. Okay, they are all fall into the carbohydrate category. Okay, so we've got our complex carbohydrates and our simple carbohydrates. Okay, now complex carbs is what I was talking about before in our books. Complex are those carbs that take a little bit more for our body to digest and break down. Okay, they're typically higher in fiber. Okay, so you probably eat these every day with like your main meals type things. Okay, rice, pasta, things like that. Yep. Simple carbohydrates are the ones that pretty much have no fiber, taken up really quickly by the body for energy. Okay, so it doesn't take much for the body to use that and break it down. Okay, so think of sugars. All right, so lollies, Powerade, honey, maple syrup, things like that. Yeah?
So the fiber content of the carbohydrate you can essentially discount and as like as far as your macros are concerned, you're not actually not actually absorbing it. Is that correct?
And fiber.
Yeah.
Yeah, your body doesn't really absorb it, break
Yeah.
down, things like that. Yeah, so that's why those more complex carbs are going to take way longer to kind of digest and process. Whereas if you are looking at the fiber content of things and you need something that you're like, all right, I don't need this to be just sitting in my stomach for ages. I need some energy within an hour.
Yeah.
You can look at the fiber content and be like, okay, super low fiber, I have that. But I would say that's probably the more complicated way of doing it. Honestly, look at the sugars in things. Something that's higher sugar and maybe does have some carbs. Yeah, like anything that's higher sugar is probably going to be lower fiber. Yeah. So that's those. So for example, you know, you've probably seen like, I don't know, AFL players at halftime, right? You don't really see them all sit down in the change rooms and eat a bowl of pasta, right? Yes, carbs are used for energy.
Someone not.
Yeah. That would be insane. But yeah, so there's a reason why they don't do that, okay? There's a reason why they eat the pasta, you know, the week leading into it, okay? They have those, they always have Powerades and things like that, okay? To keep them going in that game, in that moment, okay? They're going to have a pretty upset stomach, I would imagine, if they ate that bowl of pasta mid-game. Okay, so how do we structure our meals? I don't know if you guys can see this, but I'll say it anyways. So 2 to 3 hours before we work out, that's probably our highest fiber meal, okay? So most complex carbs, typically going to be like your main meal, all right? So for example, that might be lunch, all right? 1 to 2 hours before you train, if you're having like another snack, okay, depending how much time you have between training and say lunch, you might want another kind of snack in between there. That's kind of moderate fiber, all right? That could be like some rice cakes with like banana or something like that, things like that, okay? And then that half an hour, 45 minutes before you train, we're going to be looking at our pre-workout snack, okay? And that's going to be our most lowest fiber, probably more simple sugars type thing, simple carbs, okay? So maybe a couple of lollies, a fruit puree pouch is a good one, Powerade, whatnot, okay? So that's how like you kind of time your carbs in your day, all right? Anyone train early morning here, like 6 a.m? Yep. 5:30. 5:30? Yeah. I don't imagine you're getting up at 1 a.m. to have your first meal and then
58.
Yeah.
I'm very specific.
Yeah.
I'm still like, it's got 2 minutes to
Every
drive and
time.
half an hour workout.
Yeah.
I have a coffee, that's probably bad.
It's alright. Like,
But
you know.
I don't have anything else. So
Yeah,
I should
okay,
maybe
yeah.
have-
Yeah, you could add in, you know, banana or something to that. Yeah.
It's hard to eat, but
Yeah, and it is hard to eat early in the morning, right? So that's where, you know, I'm not going to say, oh cool, like 2 to 3 hours before your 5 a.m. session, we need to be getting a meal in. Like, it's just not realistic, okay? So what I would say is like, we skip those two, we go straight to our pre-workout snack, all right? So, and again, very individual. You might be able to stomach something like a banana. Cool. Maybe you can't. Maybe it's more liquids. Maybe you sip on a juice box on the way to the gym, you know, things like that, to just get that quick little boost of carbs in before your session, so we're not training fasted.
great.
Yeah? Cool. Alright, so how much should you be having? This, unless you're someone tracking your macros and things like that, it's not, you know, hugely relevant, and you don't need to track your macros throughout this challenge. But it is a question I always get asked, okay? So, again, very individualized, okay? Depends on your goals, your energy output, all of that stuff, okay? But typically, around that 3 to 3.5 grams per kilogram of body weight, up to 7 grams per kilogram of body weight is what your carb intake could look like, okay? So maybe you're someone looking to tone up, lose some weight, things like that. You're probably going to be looking at the lower end of carbohydrates, okay? We're not restricting them completely, all right? We're just having less of them, yep? Maybe someone wanting to really work on your energy, your performance, grow some muscle, put on some size, okay? We're going to be looking at that higher end of carbohydrates. Yeah? Cool. Now, if that is your goal, I would suggest not going straight from 0 to 100. You know, work up to that, still start a bit lower, because you might be surprised that, oh, wow, that is a lot of carbohydrates. Oh God, I really don't get that many carbohydrates in. So start a bit lower and just build up week by week, you know, adding carbs every week. In our pre-workout snack, okay, if there is one thing that you pay attention to, and I have broken it down kind of in the pre-workout snack section for you anyways, is we want to be trying to get 0.5 to 1 grams per kilogram of body weight in our snack. So for example, if I weigh 60 kilos, I want to be looking at a pre-workout snack that has around 30 to 60 grams of carbs in it, okay? if you don't have a pre-workout snack now and this is new for you, start around that 0.5, okay, and build your way up. You might find that 0.5 is more than enough, and you feel really fine on that, okay, and you don't need to. Again, if your goals are to grow and all of that stuff and really are performance-based, work up to that higher end. If your goals are more of that like weight loss and things like that, you can stick around the lower end. Yeah?
This is all on top of the 3 meals that we.
So you would typically do 3 meals a day, 3 main meals,
Yeah.
and say in a non-training day it'd be like 3 main meals and say 2 to 3 snacks, right? On a training day, the pre and post workout snacks are probably going to replace a snack.
Yeah, that's
Does that make sense? So
Yeah,
like
that
you
makes
might
sense.
have breakfast, you might be an 8 a.m. trainer. So instead of a mid-morning snack, you're going to have like your pre and post workout in the morning, in between breakfast
So
and
that's
lunch.
one snack.
As one snack. Yeah? So
I'm just thinking of ways I can eat more fruit.
Train more.
Before you train
I
this,
guess
that's
she's in the
what
gym 24/7 now, just training all the time.
just for the food. You do a squat, you eat a fruit.
It
Yeah,
sounds
so-
like a lot of
Eating.
It is.
sounds like a lot of eating.
This is what
Yeah.
I struggle with. I can't do it.
Most people do undereat, and you'll find actually too, maybe right now you wake up, you're not hungry when you wake up,
Yeah.
you struggle to get your meals in, things like that. This consistency actually helps with that stuff. By the end of this 28 days, I would actually be really interested to hear from you guys. If you don't wake up hungry now, I'd love to hear at the end of the 28 days if you start to wake up hungry. That's a good thing. It's not like we want to be waking up feeling that, okay, I'm ready, like, okay, give me some food, start that day, okay? It means we're burning those calories, we're using the energy, our body's actually functioning how it should be.
Yeah.
So it does feel
Actually,
like a
I'm
lot.
a bit scared to eat more than I already do. Because
Yeah.
how am I gonna lose weight if I eat more?
Yeah, sure. And that's where maybe I would
Yeah.
encourage you to have a look at, okay,
Yeah.
I'm eating this much, okay, but how much protein am I getting in and how many carbs and things like that. And you don't have to fully track, but just like being aware of those things, like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm not really getting protein in any of my snacks, okay, I'm going to focus on high protein snacks and things like that. That can really help with, weight loss and all of that. Yeah. But it is scary, but just trust the process.
Yeah.
See how you go.
Yeah.
Okay, so protein. These are our body's key to recovery. Okay, when we train, okay, what we're doing is causing all these little